Something I want you to know, rebuilding your life doesn't start with another routine. It starts with honesty. And we are back with another video. I'm so excited about this one. I've said this before, but I feel like we're in the season of the great rebuild. We are seeing so many people go through shifts and changes in their life, whether they, wanted them or not. Life provided you with a major life twist, or maybe you went through something like grief, loss, a shift in your identity, a hardship, diagnosis, anything like that. I think we're starting to see a lot of people desiring to come back home to themselves, live more honestly, and they're just trying to figure out, how do I do that, and where do I start? So I couldn't wait to record this video, because if you want to rebuild your life, this is where you start. I have been a woman that has journeyed this path many, many times. And as someone that will be 37 in a few sweet, tender months, I have come to learn a thing or two. So I wanted to share my thoughts with you, and let's just get into it. So a few points. Take notes, by the way. If you don't already have a pen and a piece of paper available, grab one, take your notes, and then let's get to it. So the first point I want you to know, when you're rebuilding your life, when you're going through a intentional shift and change because you realize, I cannot keep living like this. This is not working for me. Something heavy and hard happened, and you are ready to move forward with intentionality of taking control of your life and taking yourself back. I want you to remember to first tell the truth out loud and on paper. There is not, how do I want to say this? There is something that's just healing and therapeutic about honesty, about what you went through. When you can say it out loud, when you can put it down on paper, when you have a safe space as in a person that you can talk through, if you're in therapy or talking to a close friend or using an outlet of some sort as you are navigating what you're processing, speak it. You have to, in order to change and rebuild yourself, because so many people like to say the word reinvent. I used to even say reinvent too, but I realized that's not really it. But in order to change and rebuild from being broken, rebuild from disappointment, rebuild from loss, rebuild from something major or traumatic that happened in your life, when you can tell the truth about what happened on paper out loud, that is starting to set you free. That is healing. When you can be in a space where you are honest, you can start growing from the place of honesty. You're not growing from unawareness. And I hope this makes sense. So whether you can either talk to someone and be able to start to get your thoughts out there, that was one of the most strong starts, one of the strongest starts that I had when I started to just vocalize it, because vocalizing it in a sense allows me to have power over it. I'm not just going with the flow of what happened to me. I would say specifically, probably breast cancer. After navigating breast cancer, and I'd say a year and a half after a year after I had my last surgery, I just got honest with how I was feeling, because I hit a wall where I had months of feeling stagnant. My rebuild felt like stagnation. It felt empty. It felt like isolation. It felt like, what is happening to me right now? And when I started to journal, which will lead into my second point, reconnect with yourself through deep journaling, started to sit down and sit with the uncomfortable truths of what happened to me, how I was feeling, processing my emotions in real time. The questions that would come up, I would either voice memo the questions or write down the questions so I can circle back on it and spend more time with it. When I started to when you look at your life pattern, even through trauma, you can sometimes start to make connections with the dots. And I would say journaling did that for me. It allowed me to have this outlet where I could brain dump all my thoughts. I wasn't holding everything in here, right? Because we literally think about a million different things in a day. And so when I could brain dump and put it on paper, it felt like a release. But then I could go back and look at that paper and then look at the next day's journal entries and the next day's journal entry. And it helped me to start piecing things together about myself as a woman that was healing and a woman that was rebuilding, that I could understand better. And then I could actually heal from the place of awareness. I was able to start moving forward because I understood what I was battling. I understood why I thought that way. I understood the correlation between so many different points in my life. So if you can, so my point, second point, is reconnect with yourself through deep journaling and meet the version of you that you've been avoiding. And most people avoid this step because it does require you to get down in the nitty gritty. It requires you to get raw. It requires you to get very honest and not to provide excuses for yourself. You need to journal and empathize with yourself, also from the place of being real and honest, realistic, because when you are putting it all out there, then you can best navigate forward as like your most healed self in the rebuild. Because we don't want to rebuild from survival mode. We don't want to rebuild from behaviors or actions that we had that maybe we're people pleasing. We don't want to rebuild from perfectionism, you know? So it's like when you spend the time, sorry, y'all, I'm trying to get comfortable. When you spend the time, learning you and understanding some of those past habits or some of those past triggers or some of those past patterns, then your rebuild is that much more beautiful because it's honest and it's authentic. And once again, we're not repeating a cycle of maybe fluff or living for someone else in a way that just didn't feel true to you. My third point, make decisions from awareness, not survival mode. So once you tell the truth and reconnect with yourself, you give yourself permission to start choosing differently. You give yourself permission and power and confidence because now it's like, okay, I am a woman that doesn't require this, or I am a woman that needs this. Like you can speak that, you know, and it builds up your boundaries. You stop reaching from fear and urgency or old coping patterns that you previously had when you were going through your situation, from your previous experience. You build from a place of newness. You build from a place of awareness. You build from a place of confidence. You build from a place of emotional regulation. You built from a place of like having a relationship with yourself. And it is an authentic, genuine relationship. Because if you think about it, and I don't know about you, but I know when I went through life previously, I would truly say before breast cancer, I looked back and I was like, what the heck was that? Like, girl, what? I looked back and I just saw all the people pleasing. I saw how I was just such a nice girl. I gravitated to being so nice because if you're nice, people are nice back to you. And if you're nice, you don't have issues with anybody. If you're nice, you don't have strife and drama and chaos and all this other stuff. But there's a difference between being a kind person and a nice person. Nice people get walked over. Nice people get taken advantage of. Kind people, you can still lead from the kindness of your heart with a boundary. You can lead from the kindness of your heart and have self-awareness. You can lead from the kindness of your heart and not be a nasty, mean person. So there's differences within that. And like the previous me, I mean, I was up and down. I had lived in 3 different states. I had moments where I was broke. I had moments where I was making money, good money. I had moments where I was in healthy situations and moments where I was in toxic situations. I had so many fluctuations in my life that so much of my life, and even when my dad had lost the family business and then the money changed and so many things changed, I was in survival mode without realizing how long I was in survival mode. And there was always this deep underlying joy in me that I would still strive for because I knew it was there, because I'd experienced that before. And I knew what true joy felt like, especially true joy of the Lord. That hits different. Knowing that that was available to me, I would still like dig deep to try to like get there and get there in an honest way. I didn't want to get there off of performance. I didn't want to do performative measures. I didn't want to hustle my way to healing. I didn't want to do those things that commonly the culture or society may have us feeling like we got to do in order to get to the part where we're the version of our best selves. I didn't have that in me anymore, especially after going through cancer. It's just like, yo, this kind of took a lot, almost everything. Now I'm like trying to get my wind back. I'm trying to, get my sail going. Like I'm trying to build myself back up. So, all that to say, what point was I at? What was I trying to say? What did I tell y'all? Oh, making decisions from awareness, not survival mode. When you do that, your decisions, they finally come from clarity. They don't come from the panicked version of you. Okay, point 4, reclaim the parts of you that you abandoned. So who were you before the disappointment? Who were you before the situation happened? Who were you before that relationship? Who were you before the diagnosis? Who were you before you moved, before you took that job? What parts of you did you start to silence? And what patterns did you notice about that silence? Was it your partner at the time? Did you laugh too loud and your partner didn't love that, so you need to tone it down? And then you just carried, you put that, those words in your backpack and then you just carried it? Was it convenience of a relationship where you settled because you didn't want to be lonely? And then that person's struggles then became your struggles, or their energy became your energy because you absorbed it and you knew it wasn't healthy for you. You knew it was diminishing your light. Was it the environment that you allowed yourself to be in, even if you live with that person? Was it toxic? Was it chaotic? Was it full of drama? Were you always fighting for love, fighting for the attention, fighting to be heard, fighting to be seen, fighting because you put time into this relationship so you didn't want to let it go, because then that means you have to start over? And you'd have to find something that felt unfamiliar because this was familiar, even in the toxicity cycle that it was in. Rebuilding your life means that you're gathering the pieces of you that got left behind. The pieces of you that were joyful, that had that like playful kid mentality, that viewed life from an optimistic lens, that had confidence, that had softness, that had boundaries, that had a vision. When you're reclaiming those parts of you that you left behind, you're allowing yourself to now step into like the full abundant love of who you are and who God made you to be in the first place. Who were you before the disappointment happened? And bring those things back into the present version of who you're trying to be today. Okay, my 5th point, my last point, build a new foundation with consistent micro actions. So I'll say that again. That was a mouthful. Build a new foundation with micro consistent actions. So this isn't one big moment. This doesn't happen at once. It's a series of aligned choices. Just like when we're going to the gym. I know it's about that time, that season, where the guys and the girls are getting back into the gym to get fit. January is upon us. And you build those changes through micro habits, right? You don't just go to the gym 7 days in 1 week and be like, okay, I'm flexing. We flexing on them. Like, it doesn't work that way. You have to continually go. And that 30 minutes, that hour, that 45 minutes, whatever that you keep putting in, that starts to build up the change. That starts to build up the consistency. You then start to see the results because you just did micro little changes that kept building on each other. And we 30 days out, and then we 60 days out, and then we 90 days out, right? So tiny habits, tiny boundaries, those tiny micro returns to yourself. This is where the self-trust grows, because you are starting small, and then you can start, your body and your spirit just starts to feel and encompass like, I got this. I can do this. The confidence becomes top tier, and your new life starts to take shape without you ever having to force anything. It naturally is going to become that way, right? So many times got my tea, by the way. So many times I will use a reference of like a garden or flowers or a plant. Now, baby, I don't have a strong green thumb, but it's like I don't know, semi-green. And just watching my mom and stuff, she'll plant something at the beginning of the season and just, you know, tell us, hey, make sure you water it. And we water it and it just starts to grow little by little, day by day, some water and some sunlight, week by week, some water and some sunlight, right? And that's the same with us. That's the same with our heart. That's the same with our foundation. It's consistent actions, just a little by little, right? Like maybe you just commit to a little bit of, 8 ounces of water before the coffee every single day this week. And then you'll see yourself build up to be more of a water drinker. You'll just commit to small micro habits in your internal system week by week, and then you'll build up to that self-trust and that self-love that we want to experience. So I hope this helped. Let me know your thoughts in the comments if you have something to add, if any of this was helpful, or just where you're at on your journey. If you haven't already, like, comment, subscribe. And if you're new here, should have said this in the beginning, I'm gonna get better at that. If you're new here, my name is Renee. I create conversations that help women rebuild their lives and come back home to themselves after a major life shift. I am a woman that has navigated some serious stuff, so I am here to help you do the same. So leave me comments, like, subscribe, share it with a friend if any of this resonates. And by the time we post this video, there should be an email list that you can join. Okay, we are building an email list. It's been a long time, but I would love to have you subscribe. I do not plan to bombard you because I don't like to be bombarded, but I do plan to be a true committed guide and mentor on your journey to rebuilding your life back to yourself in the most authentic way. So I would love to be in your email inbox. If you can click that link, join the list. And we'll just keep on going. All right, y'all. Until the next video. Oh my God, I almost dropped my tea. Until the next video, take care, and I'll talk to you later.